going to be solving polynomial equations. So let's get right to it. Let's try x minus 5 times the quantity x minus 1 equals 0. Our goal is to get an x equals. So you're not actually going to use FOIL, or you're not actually going to break apart one of these and multiply this out. Instead, you're going to set each to equal to 0. The zero product property says that we can set this quantity to 0 and this quantity to 0. Once both are set equal to 0, you can solve for x. And I'm going to get 2 answers. That's as far as you have to go. Okay, that's what you're going to do on this lesson. I'm going to show you what you're not going to do. Okay, so let's say I have this and I decide to FOIL it out to multiply. I get x squared, outers negative 1x, inners lasts. And then maybe I combine like terms. Okay, now here I have to get x by itself. So I can move 5 over. Okay. But how do I get x by itself now? There really is no way. So instead of multiplying out in the beginning, I'm going to leave it in factored form, and that's where this comes right here in the title. We're going to solve polynomial equations in factored form. Do not multiply them out. So this is a big no-no. So let's try another one. The quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 5 equals 0. To solve these, you're going to put both quantities equal to 0. Notice when I set them equal to 0, I drop the parentheses. However many quantities are, that's how many answers you might have. So here I have 2 quantities, so I'm going to have 2 answers. Negative 3 and 5. I would like you to try the quantity 2x minus 14 times the quantity x plus 1/2 and set that equal to 0. Solve for x in both of those. Okay. Next, we're going to find the greatest common factor in monomial. Find the greatest common monomial factors. Find the greatest common monomial factor. This is going to look kind of new and different than what I just told you, but we're going to put the part we just talked about and this part together at the end. So let's say we have 8x plus 12y. You're going to want to factor out something that they have in common. Now I'm looking at the coefficients. We can see that. Maybe you can see that they have a 4 in common, but they have no variables in common. Now, if you can't see that they have a 4 in common, it's kind of like reducing. You want to find the greatest common factor. If you can't see that, we learned how to find the greatest common factor together in 6th grade and 7th grade. You probably did it in 5th grade as well. You can list the factors. So factors are what make the number. So I can make 8 by 1 times 8. I can make 8 by 2 times 4. That's it. I can make 12 by 1 times 12. 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Then I look for their greatest common factor. The biggest number that they have in common is 4. Whatever the greatest common factor is, that's what I'm going to pull out of both terms. I'm going to divide both terms by 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 on the outside of a parenthesis and divide both terms. 8x divided by 4 is 2x. 12y divided by 4 is 3y. Now, inside of those parentheses, you not have a greatest common factor besides 1, but that's not going to change anything. And the variables do not have anything in common. So this would be my answer. I am going to leave that 4 on the outside of the parentheses. So let's try another one.
Good morning, teachers. Just to let you know, on top of this not having a snow day, there's no library either. So no library today. Thanks.
Okay. You want to look at two things. You want to look at the coefficients, then you want to look at the variables. So again, it's kind of like reducing. What can you take out of 14 and 21? What do they have in common? If you can't see it, you can always set up a list to the right. We make 14 by 1 and 14, 2 and 7. We can make 21 by 1 and 21. 2 does not go in. 3 goes in 7 times. Okay. Their greatest common factor is 7. If you can see that the greatest common factor is 7 without making a list, you do not have to make a list. In fact, we should not be making lists anymore. Okay, so I see that these two coefficients have a 7 in common. Now I'm looking at the variables. They both have at least one y. So I'm going to pull a y out as well. Dividing by 7y. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Y squared divided by y, don't we just subtract their exponents? 2 minus 1 is 1. So I can put a 1 here. 21 divided by 7 is a positive 3. Y divided by y, 1 minus 1 is 0. So I'm not going to put a y here. So my answer is 7y times the quantity, 2y plus 3. Okay. I would like you to try 4x to the 4th plus 24 x cubed. Push pause and try that now. Okay, now we're going to put those two things together. So now we're solving equations by factoring. Okay, so let's say we have a squared plus 5a equals 0. This is kind of like what I showed you at the beginning of the video. There's no way to get a by itself here, so I'm going to have to factor. Meaning I'm going to have to pull something out of both terms that they have in common, just like we did in the last little section. They do not have any coefficients in common, but they both have an a in common. So I'm going to pull an a out of both of these. A squared divided by a is a. 2 minus 1 is 1. There is no coefficient. A divided by a, 1 minus 1 is 0. There is 0 a's. Now that I have it factored, I can set both quantities equal to 0. This is a quantity, and this is a quantity. Here I already have one answer. My other answer is negative 5. My two answers are 0 and negative 5. Let's try another one. Let's try 3s squared minus 9s equals 0. Start with the coefficients. What can you take out of 3 and 9? Well, they have a 3 in common. Do they have any variables in common? Yes, they both have at least one s. Now I divide. 3 divided by 3 is 1. I can put the 1 here. S squared divided by s, 2 minus 1 is 1s. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. S divided by s, 1 minus 1 is 0, so I don't have any s's there. Set both quantities equal to 0. So my two answers problem. 3x squared plus 18x equals 0. Push pause and try that now. Okay, I have one more type of problem to show you. Let's say you get something like this. 4x squared equals 2x. Well, our whole goal is to get x by itself, but I can't divide this by 2. It'll bring more to this x, and I can't divide this by 4 because it's going to bring more to this side. So instead, I'm going to bring all the variables to one side. So I'm going to bring this 2x over to the left side of the equal sign. Now, these are not like terms, so I can't combine it. I'm just rewriting this. On the right side of the equal sign, I have 0. Okay, you're going to notice, once I get all the terms on the same side, I can now factor. I can pull out a greatest common factor, and that greatest common factor is 2x. And I'm going to divide. 4 divided by 2, x squared divided by x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is a negative 1. X divided by x, well, there are none left. Set both equal to 0. And solve. So x equals 1. 0 and 1/2. Last problem. Try 4s squared equals 14s. Make sure you write down any questions you may have.